Hello! Today we're going to do something really special. We're going to go through the top 20 to top 25 best niches for high-ticket marketing for 2024. That means I'm going to show you in detail which niches you should be focusing on for the rest of this year, but also for 2024. Why that is the case, which niches you should definitely avoid. So without further ado, let's get straight into it. Alright, I'm creating a template for you guys. I will also upload and link this in the description of this video at the bottom. Now, as you can see, I have to come up with all sorts of infos here. So, I had no idea what cover photo to pick, so I just thought this would be very accurate. And yeah, let's submit this, and here we go. Now I came up with 4 categories. You have to choose 5. That's why the last one here is just a very cheap attempt to make you like this video. But honestly, if you like this kind of content, I need your feedback. You like this content, give it a like. You don't like this content, give it a dislike. That's the only way for me to figure out what to do next, right? Let's discuss these 4 categories really quickly so we can get started. God tier is the absolute best one. These are the best niches for the coming year. These are the ones where you're literally going to be printing money that have, I would say, an unlimited potential, and some of these will be very surprising to you. So it will make a lot of sense to stick until the end of this video, because then I'm going to discuss not only this section right here, but I will give you an overview of all of these niches that I'm going to discuss here in detail with you. Number 1 are niches that I think are pretty good. Third category is okay niches. Let's say these are, I would say, somewhat mediocre. You can work with them, but you shouldn't really work with them, I would say. And the stay away niches are the ones where I would say these definitely you should avoid at all costs. So let's start off with one of the most obvious ones, and these are restaurants. I think that restaurants belong in the stay away category, and that has very obvious reasons, I would say, especially in recent years with all these global issues that we had and lockdowns and all this stuff happening. Restaurants have lost a lot of money. These businesses have been very vulnerable to these, recent events worldwide, and that's why I think restaurants are not really a good niche. Although you can help them very easily with marketing, especially on Instagram. It's a very easy way to make money for restaurants by running ads on there. But the thing is, even if, let's say, none of this would have happened over the past few years, right? Even in that case, I would say that restaurants are really not a good niche. The thing is, the average profit margin for a restaurant is something like ridiculously low, like 5 to 10% or something like that. So given that's the case, the businesses are not really high in cash flow, and some of these restaurants, although they look really good on high level, are just kind of getting by. If I was you, I would stay away from the restaurant niche entirely. I would not take these businesses as clients. And a similar category, although not as bad for me, are dentists. And the reason for that is dentists are just incredibly hard to reach. They're usually the business owners, but also on the practical side of things, the most important person in the business. That means they're working on the service delivery, but yet at the same time, they're usually also the business owner in just many cases. And they're just very hard to reach. It's just very hard to get through to them. Even if you get through to them, especially the older ones, usually have a strong customer base that is local, and they are like, yeah, I don't really need more clients. Just in my opinion, based on my experience, dentists are not really an easy niche to break into. Now, by the way, just to give you a disclaimer here, I'm not going to criticize these niches and tell you what to do and what not to do. I'll just share my opinion with you, my raw and honest feedback. This is not only based on my own opinion. I'm just very well connected in the agency space. I know many agency owners. I have trained and coached multiple agency owners who started with me over the past 7 years, and therefore I think it would be very helpful for you, especially if you're a beginner, to know these things up front, so you're just wasting as little time as possible and you focus on the things that actually work, right? The next one in the stay away category for me is the dropshipping niche. Now that might be surprising to some of you, and the main reason for me to stay away from dropshipping is that usually dropshipping is a low margin model that highly depends on making it work with paid advertising. So as soon as there are any changes between the manufacturer and the dropshipping business, as soon as, for example, the manufacturer has to charge $5 more for his product, then the dropshipping business could already be, falling apart. And it's just too much dependent on so many variables that me as the agency cannot really control and cannot really help with that. It's just a business model that I think is too complicated, it's too volatile, and for that reason I stay away from dropshipping. Now, e-commerce, for example, where they build their own product. They have their own factories for that, for example. That's an entirely different thing. But the dropshipping model, these are not the clients that I usually like to work with. Next one in that category, and the last one, are med spas. This may also come to you as a surprise. The reason why I don't think that med spas are a good niche to work with as of right now, I mean, is that this niche is simply just, you know, so competitive. I don't like to use the term saturated because I don't honestly think that anything is ever really oversaturated. However, especially videos about the med spa industry have gone viral in the last few, you know, like 6 to 12 months, especially here on YouTube. People talking about how to easily reach out to med spas. Everybody seems to be copy pasting the same 2 or 3 approaches. I think that med spas are getting hammered with calls right now from marketing agencies every single day. And for that reason, I think it's just a very, very tough industry to break into. Also, there are other industries that are more cash flow heavy. Let's go to the okay niches. Again, these are kind of mediocre, kind of average. You can work with them, but you also maybe can find better niches to work with. I think one that belongs here are NGOs. NGOs, I think, are kind of outside the box. There are many people who don't really think of NGOs as actual businesses. However, NGOs need advertising as well in many cases to, you know, get donations and make sure that people are even aware of these NGOs. So they need brand awareness and they need ads just as any other business as well. Usually, though, they are very low on budgets, both to pay you but also to run the ads. And as I said before, I think superior to the dropshipping model is any other e-commerce web shop, website / Shopify store, even Amazon FBA, for example, if they have a shop outside of Amazon and they need ads on Facebook, Instagram, and so on. That's okay. That could be, you know, a very solid client for you. However, I have made the experience that their results and their reasoning is just so focused on the immediate return on ad spend that usually it's a client that's harder to work with, just harder to make them, you know, be happy with the results. It's just so result focused that, again, also here, if there's something changing in their business, they make changes to their website, changes to their branding, changes to their guarantees, changes to what they sell. These things for you are not in your control, and for that reason, you know, e-commerce and also dropshipping, both in general, are not really my favorite clients to work with. The next one on the list are hotels. Hotels make actually pretty good clients, but big downside to hotels is they have such a seasonal momentum, especially when we talk about countries in the world that have 4 seasons. So they have a clear summer and a clear winter. You know, in that case, sometimes they will have a weak winter or like weak summer respectively, depending on the country and where in the world we're talking about. Anyway, so that means even if you run ads for them, it may just be that in a certain time of the year, nobody's going to go there anyway. And then you would be, you know, on the forefront of cutting costs. And then sometimes these hotels think that it makes more sense to maybe have one campaign each year and only work with you, for example, for like 5 months in a year and not like 12 months in a row. And that's really the only reason why I think they don't belong into this pretty good or like the God tier area of niches to focus on for the coming year. Then also, of course, keep in mind, hotels had a big issue over the past few years for the similar reasons I mentioned for restaurants as well, and that's why I would not rank them any higher than just being an okay niche to work with. The next one, maybe surprising to you why I put this here, are crypto startups. Now, there's only one reason I put crypto startups in the okay section, and that is because the market is just so volatile. There are so many crypto startups that just vanish. As you know, maybe you've been in crypto for a couple years like me, invested in some projects as well, and maybe you've noticed that there are just so many projects that just disappear and go nowhere. So again, it's a very volatile market. It just goes up and down, and then sometimes, you know, a young startup could just disappear. So it's not really the kind of client where you know it's going to be around for the next 20 years. That's what I'm trying to say, because compared to hotels and NGOs and dentists and restaurants, for these at least, unless they go broke, you know these will be around for at least another decade or so, right? The next one right here are coaches. You can think of any coach: fitness coaches, wealth coaches, dating coaches, therapists, life coaches. There are so many more coaches. Also, you can say Public speakers tie into that as well. Coaches have a very low limit of clients they can take on, especially one-on-one coaching, unless they have built a team and they know what they're doing, they're good at business. If that's not the case, then sometimes this is the kind of client that you work with, you get them between 8 to 12 clients, and then they tell you, hey, you know what, actually I don't need your help anymore, and we can talk about this again maybe like 3 months from now. So that's the main reason why I don't put coaches any higher than that. Of course, you can be lucky and work with a coach who has a well-sophisticated, well-built, structural coaching business where that's not the case, where I don't have any limits. If that's the case, amazing. Then it would actually belong maybe in the pretty good section right here. But for now, I would just put them with the okay niches. The next one on my list are accountants. Accountants are, based on my experience, absolutely lost when it comes to marketing. I just looked up accountants in my area very recently because I needed a new one. And I went through probably 15 to 20 different pages. And honestly, the websites were terrible. Some websites looked like they set these websites up like, who knows, 15 years ago. And you know, the funniest thing that happened to me is that there was one website of one business where it literally said on the website, when you clicked on the team and everything, like the background info when they started and so on, it said something along the lines of, yeah, I finished my degree in 1994 or whatever. It said, I finished my degree in 1994 or whatever. Like, it sounded like some teenager, maybe the daughter or like the son of that accountant, made their website and didn't know when their father or mother finished their degrees and they wanted to change it later, but they just forgot. When I saw that, I thought it was freaking hilarious. That's the kind of client you can message and go, hey man, I found your website. First of all, it's terrible. On your website, it just looks very unprofessional. Don't you think you should maybe change that, because it will not really look good to your new clients, right? So actually, these make good clients, but again, many accountants are like so out of the loop. They get enough business anyway, and that's why I don't rank them any higher. Also, like coaches, they have a very low limit of clients they can take. But of course, that depends on the kind of accountant business. If it's well structured, if it's well built out, then of course they might be ready to scale. So it really depends. But for now, there are just so many more niches I'm going to talk about now that belong into the superior section. So for now, I would just keep them here. So let's start with the pretty good niches. These are the second best. And the first one I want to talk about are everything hardcore outside the box niches. Everything that belongs into this box, so to say, would be niches that you don't really think about. I will give you a couple of examples now. In preparation for this video, I wrote a bunch of these down. I'll read this to you now. Help trucking companies to recruit new drivers. That's actually a niche where some guy I met has made 8 to 12K a month very, very fast. I think in like 2 or 3 months. That was only maybe 4 years ago. Because there are some companies out there who really struggle to find decent talent, and the trucking company industry seems to have exactly that problem. Then you can also target physical therapists, you can target political parties. Now, of course, disclaimer, I know in some countries, in some areas, it's not really common for political parties to advertise, so it really depends and it's a bit more complicated. However, if you could start working with a political party and that party really grows or is already big, this could be a huge client for you. Then, of course, tourism companies like specific sightseeing services. I'm talking, for example, something specifically in London, specifically in New York, and so on. Then you can focus on brands that sell ultra-specific products for very, let's say, tiny niches. 2 examples: products for autistic kids or specific products for deaf people that help them at home. These are the kind of niches that I would, as a summary, put into this box of everything hardcore outside the box. These make good niches for a number of reasons. Number one, for sure, there's simply not that much competition compared to, e-commerce, hotels, coaches, accountants, restaurants, dentists, and so on. Like all the other niches you see here, usually you would receive more direct outreach by agencies than the ones that I just name dropped here for everything hardcore outside the box. The next one on my list are health brands and supplement brands. These are very easy to sell and I think quite underrated because they're not limited in the amount of what they can sell. In many cases, they can just produce more supplements and more health products. They can also sell subscription models. They can do a lot with They can do a lot with downsells, with email marketing. There are many ways here to help these brands in many different ways. And that's why I think these make really good clients. Also, quite a good one that not many people talk about are wedding planners. Wedding planners make so much money actually. It's a super high ticket business model, and high ticket business models are amazing to run ads. I mean, imagine you would spend, let's say, $500 a month on your ads. If you sell something worth $2,500, then you still make $2,000 in profit afterwards. So for them, it's actually really easy to come up with the budget and make it seem very logical and like a no-brainer for them to start advertising online. Next one are solar companies. I think the solar industry is a very obvious choice here, and maybe one that you came across recently as well. I mean, the solar industry has an incredible growth projection over the next few years. It's a growing industry. And they close deals also in the high ticket area, like very high ticket area. So for them to run ads as an example on Google and rank up high on the search results in the local area or like regional area makes a lot of sense, and is very cheap for them. The same can be said for real estate agents. This is, I think, an evergreen niche, a totally evergreen niche. Also very competitive, but the good thing about real estate agents is you can very easily reach them, especially on Facebook and other social media platforms, because, I mean, they have to be on social media anyway nowadays. So it's actually super simple to just message them and get in touch for the first time. It's very easy for them to recoup their marketing costs. Even their first commission would usually, with you, immediately give them a nice amount of cash flow and make them understand, okay, this pays for itself. And then one of my personal favorite niches are gyms and fitness centers. The reason for that is that fitness is always in demand. This niche, belongs into the top 3 best niches that you can in general focus on with any business that's health, wealth, and relationships. Now, I'll say one negative thing about gyms here. The thing is, similarly to restaurants and also hotels, during the past few years, they also struggled a little bit. And that's the only reason really why I haven't put them here in the God tier bracket. Also, to name one more thing, of course, they also have a limit, so they cannot sell unlimited amounts of subscriptions. But still, I made very good experience with this model. One big reason for that is usually it's easy to talk to the business owners. It's not usually a huge team of 50 employees or something. So it's very, very simple to get in touch with them. They have solid cash flow, and usually, especially if they charge a price higher than average, they make really good clients, especially in that case, because then it's very easy for them to recoup the money and make amazing profit. So the first one on my list for the God tier printing money niche are agencies. And I'm talking agencies in general. I'm not saying just digital marketing agencies, but if you think about the term agencies, there are just so many more examples. I'm talking about, as an example, model agencies, event planning agencies, travel agencies. All of these also would love to get more clients online. So this is also, I think, fairly outside the box. There are not that many people who work with agencies. In my personal case, I work with a lot of marketing agencies, ironically. Or you could also say solopreneurs, marketing freelancers, or one-man agencies, because they have to focus so much on service fulfillment that they still, even though they know how to do it, would like to have someone else, step in and do a better job than them when it comes to paid marketing. So this niche, along with also digital marketers, for me are a God tier / printing money niche. I think it's not so obvious, because many people think that if you sell marketing services online, it means that you should focus on a niche that has nothing to do with marketing, but that's actually not true. It's very similar to thinking about, would a fitness coach need a fitness coach? Would a wealth coach need a wealth coach? I would say the answer is clearly yes, because even in your profession and in your expertise, there are subcategories where you can still excel and still learn more. So as an example here, if you are a digital marketer who focuses on TikTok, it doesn't mean that you couldn't find business on Facebook or on Google, and then maybe you want to work with a specialist who focuses on that. Or you are just good at ads, but you don't know how to build a website. Then you need somebody to help you build a website. So you see, these things go hand in hand, and it's a win-win for everybody. And that's why I think digital marketers, ironically, are also part of the best niches to work with. So this one right here is very old school, the roofing niche. Roofing is just extremely high in cash flow. I know so many stories from, for example, my own coaching students who in the first few weeks of sending emails and talking to roofing businesses have gotten them on the phone, and they said, yeah, I'm going to send you $4,000 this week and then we get started. It seems that the roofing business owners don't seem to be very risk averse. They seem to be very open for new things, seem to be very open to get started, even if it's the first time for them advertising online. And that's why, in my opinion, it makes a really, really good industry. It's extremely high in cash flow. It's easy for them to recoup the costs on marketing, and so it's easy for you to keep them as a client long term and charge them high ticket. Here's one that's also not that obvious. I would say education. The entire education sector, whether that's about online coaching courses or even to some degree universities who sell online courses right now. It doesn't really matter. I would say everything that fits the umbrella term of online education can be a good fit here. And the reason is, you know, sales are unlimited. You can sell a PDF, a video course, a video coaching, whatever, like a coaching group. You can sell that to an unlimited amount of people. And for that reason alone, it's better than, as an example, coaches here on that list, or med spas, or even gyms that are limited in the amount of sales they could make because they just have a physical limit they have to keep in mind when making sales and growing further. Here, there's not really a cap, and the entire education sector, online education, whether that's online coaching or even universities, like I said, selling these courses, has a very promising growth projection for the coming 5 to 10 years. More and more people start to educate themselves online instead of studying at a university where they have to move to an entirely different country or city or like far away from their friends and family. I think the future is going to be digital education, and that's showing in that growth projection, and that's why this is an amazing niche to work with. Next one on my list are AI startups and SaaS businesses, meaning software as a service businesses. I don't know about you, but I am subscribed to so many software as a service businesses. We can just talk about this for hours, but just to give you some, I'm using a calendar app where people can book calls with me and my team. That, for example, cost me something like 15 to 20 bucks a month. I have a Slack channel for my teams. That's basically a business messenger, just like WhatsApp, but for business. I pay something like 30, 40 bucks for that a month. And everything combined, even just in my businesses, I must be spending something between 200 to maybe 400 US dollars a month just on SaaS businesses right now. These businesses make crazy money, but what they usually need is they need advertising. They need to make sure their message is heard and they can compete with other businesses in their niche. And I mean, I think the most obvious one on the entire list is just AI startups. AI is just going to become massive in the digital marketing space. There are so many tools already. I mean, the most famous, I guess, are Midjourney and ChatGPT right now. AI is just the obvious future with an extremely high potential. The last one on my list, I think one of the most surprising maybe to you, but also one of my favorite niches, is the construction / architecture / interior design niche. So you could go and talk to construction businesses, architecture businesses, and interior design businesses and show them how to use brand awareness to reach their target audience on places like, as an example, LinkedIn. I'm currently running LinkedIn ads for one of the biggest companies. They make 100 million a year or something. It's crazy. They have over 300 employees, and it was super duper simple to sign this client. I've been working with this client for roughly 12 months right now. The service fulfillment is super simple. It will always be in demand. There's always going to be new buildings, new designs necessary. So these three as subcategories for this niche, I would say, are extremely underrated and underestimated. It could also belong into the everything hardcore outside the box group over here, but then I think, like I said, it's a god tier niche. It doesn't belong into pretty good. It's a god tier niche, and one that you should definitely check out. Now, that said, these are the most attractive, I think, 22, plus if you add some of these I mentioned here, top 25 best niches to focus on for the next year, 2024. If you have any questions, you can do two things. Number one, of course, comment below. I'm going to read all of your comments. Number two, feel free to get in touch with me on my social medias. I linked all of that here on YouTube. And that being said, I hope to see you in the next video, and let me know, give me some feedback, what you think is a niche that you really like on this list, and maybe you tell me about one that maybe you have made some experience with yourself in the past. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video.